athletic. I think he's just a lot of bad luck, and the knee was a reoccurring thing anyway. So I personally think it's bad luck. I don't view him as like a CC who is that unathletic and can only pitch. I feel he can field his position and move around well.
Well, he doesn't have the problem like CC does. Like, all of CC's problems stem from his weight, you know?
I think these
like
injuries...
when it comes to his knees and stuff.
These injuries happen, though, because he's not used to doing them. You know, he's not used to jumping over a base runner who fell down. And when he slipped in the mound, I think he was already damaged goods at that point. I mean, in the bullpen. When he slipped in the bullpen in Baltimore, the knee issues were already there. And, you know, and that stemmed from, that spring training where, what was he, just leaping to catch a fly ball or something, and then tweaked his knee. And
yeah, they were shagging, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, just little things. He's just not used to doing these because he just, I don't know, he just never really has. I mean, Rick Porcello looks like he could be a basketball player if he wanted to be. You know, he just moves so gracefully, and you know, and Price made a good play tonight, you know, after taking the comebacker, and you know, he's a pretty good athlete, and you know, I don't know, he's just a big, heavy, rugged guy, and I'm always going to hold my breath when he has to do something out of the ordinary, because I just feel like he's going to get hurt. Buchholz was the same way too, though, and he was a little skinny guy.
Yeah, Buchholz was made of glass, though. He got hurt every single start, it felt like.
Yeah. So, but, you know, he seems healthy. He pitched 2 scoreless, and he had 2 scoreless appearances in Double-A. So, it looks like his mechanics are in line, and I think he'll come out of the gates without a hitch. We just gotta, like we said at the start of this, hopefully he can go past the 5th, and especially with his bullpen, because who the hell's gonna, you know, hold whatever lead he might have.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Erod could turn into that Charlie Morton, Peacock, Andrew Miller type guy. You know, if he can throw 3 or 4 innings, 5 innings pretty regularly. Obviously, he was very good this year. And you got Sale, who you're not taking out. He's your ace. You got Price, who's been unbelievable since the All-Star break, and even a little bit before that. So he's your 2-starter. You got Porcello as your 3-starter, sure. But then Erod, I mean, you know, coming back, go in there, 2 innings. You know, all of a sudden, you know, Porcello comes out in the 5th, Price comes out in the 5th or 6th, and then Erod to the 7th, the 8th. And I like that idea when you don't have a dominant bullpen like the Royals, right, or even the Yankees do, except when they play the Red Sox. But if you don't have a dominant bullpen, you got to get creative, and not Kevin Cash creative or Joe Madden creative, where you have to do way outside the box stuff or outmanage yourself. You just got to be able to look at the long picture and just say, okay, he's not going to do this every time. He's not going to do this next year. He's going to do this for a month, right, for me right now. Maybe a month for me next year, hopefully. But I think it shows it's working. You know, Andrew Miller was overworked a little bit, and it caught up to him, but it took until Game 7 of the World Series to be overworked. So, you know, 1 game less than that, they win the World Series. Last year, they, you know, because of their Verlander acquisition, the bullpen wasn't as taxed as much, and they won the World Series. So I can totally see the Red Sox being that type of team this year, because you look at the Yankees, and they are going to be a strictly, you know, stereotypical bullpen team. Oakland, same way. They have a great bullpen, shutdown bullpen. They're great once they get a lead after the 6th or 7th. Seattle, same thing with Diaz. But look at the Red Sox. They're very similar to Cleveland and Houston in teams that have all these starters, and they can't fit them all in the rotation. So how do you get a dominant player into the game?
Who do you think would be a better long relief guy, Erod or Eovaldi?
I think Erod, because he's more consistent.
Yeah, I kind of want to see Eovaldi after this bullpen test with Pedro to see if he actually tweaked anything or if it was just kind of for show. But as of right now, I'm going to say Erod.
Yeah, he would be the more sure thing, you know, to be able to go at least 2 or 3 dominant innings, like Dave was just saying. So we're gonna need one guy like that for sure. So, you know, I guess we got 4 weeks to figure out who's gonna give the best value, for long relief. Another thing we should be looking at here over the next 48 hours is the non-waiver trade deadline, and I don't see any relievers on it other than maybe and Ryan Madsen was claimed, so that won't be an option for us anyway. But Gio Gonzales was put through waivers and cleared, so he could be traded to any team. Any chance we might go that route?
No reason we couldn't. Could be a back-end starter, especially with Price. You don't know if he's going to be out for a while. If Erod comes back a little dry, if you want to rest Sale down the stretch when we have things kind of under control, and more bullpen.
You got to kind of remember who's on the other side, though. Like, Rizzo's an idiot. So, we could offer Rizzo a really good deal, and he still probably wouldn't take it.
Yeah, if we could get him, it'd be great. He's not having a great year this year. Last year, he was lights out. For anybody doesn't know about him, last year he had a 2.96 ERA. At opponent's batting average was 2.16. This year, opponents hitting 2.61 against him. He's got a 4.57 ERA. But he's shown last year he can do it. He threw 200 innings last year. First time in 6 years he did that. And he was dominant from start to finish. Maybe a new scenery. He's been off a little bit.
Cole Hamels
rest. Cole Hamels effect. You go to a winning team, winning organization, a lot of positivity around you. And you're
out of the negative of DC, basically.
Yeah, and you're using certain spots. You're not going to throw him against the Yankees. You throw him against Miami. You throw him against the Blue Jays, the Orioles. Spot start him. And he could definitely help. And you never know in the playoffs, like I said, somebody gets hurt. You need a bullpen guy. It's a blowout. You look at Pomeranz tonight. I hope I see a lot of Pomeranz in the playoffs. I hope we're up 8-2 in the ninth inning. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm looking at his situation right now, and he is a free agent at the end of the year. And like you said, he's been up and down. I think every other start he's gotten shelled the last, since the All-Star break anyway. And
if it was any other GM, I think a single-A player in cash could get it done. But Rizzo's so stubborn.
Well, they got rid of Murphy.
You're banking on his name, basically.
Yeah, I don't know. They
got rid of Murphy late though. They could have got so much more for him if they traded him before before the actual trade deadline. They could have got a good amount for him.
Right.
Well, then they put Harper through it for basically nothing, just a tease.
Yeah, and if I'm Bryce Harper, I'm pissed about that.
Oh yeah.
Trade me or don't put me on the fucking waiver wire.
Don't announce to the world that you don't want me, and then not trade me.
Yeah, trade me. Hey, you should have traded me to the Cubs or to the Brewers and let me go try and win a World Series this year, and maybe I would have came back.
And the Dodgers was the team that claimed him, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
They were, and not that they needed him, but man.
Well,
that would be a scary one.
There was speculation. It would not surprise
me if Verdugo was in that deal.
There was speculation that it was only to block, the teams remaining or whatever. So I don't know how serious the Dodgers really were. But with Gonzales, I just can't imagine he's going to be worth a ton, with the recent run he's on, and he's a free agent. I feel like they would let him go for a package similar to what Austin was saying. And I mean, does Mike Rizzo have a job after this season?
He should. No. But they're a bad franchise, so you never know.
Because, I've mentioned the Kinsler thing a couple of times. They thought he was a clubhouse rat leaking stuff to the media, so they traded him. Turns out the source in question said, no, I never had any contact with Kinsler whatsoever. So they shot themselves in the foot and traded a valuable piece. And then the Sean Kelly thing, when he spiked his glove on the mound after giving that home run to the Mets, I think they DFA'd him immediately that night and then worked out a trade with the Oakland A's, and now he's out there. That sounds like...
I would spike my glove, too, if I gave up a home run to a Met.
Well, they've been on a decent run lately, it seems like, but...
following their leader.
Yeah. It's just a very toxic organization is what I'm saying, and so, yeah, and I wouldn't mind seeing that move at this point. I mean, you'd probably DFA Pomeranz at that point. I just because
send them back in the deal.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and they would probably just DFA him right away anyway. But yeah, I don't know. But I mean, you put him in the rotation, and that solves having to send Eovaldi out there, and unless Price is really injured, then that would throw a kink into that. But I don't know. It gives you depth, and the rosters expand, so you can kind of play with a bunch of things. And I'd love to see that move happen.
I would like to see it too, especially if Price is going to miss time. But if you're worried about Evaldi's inconsistency, I mean, Gio Gonzales has been Mr. Inconsistent this year, including his last 3 games where he's given up 5, 8, and 1. So his last 15 games, he's a 6.78 ERA. I'd rather roll the dice with Evaldi in an important game. But as a fifth guy, instead of having Velasquez or Brian Johnson out there, only going 4 innings, I'd rather put Gio out there. And then if he struggles, put in Johnson then. And if he cruises, you're good.
Well, yeah, and the change of scenery thing too. I mean, you're just basically taking a flyer on him at this point.
Yeah, exactly. It's 100% worth it. It's a low risk, high reward type of thing. Like Austin said, you give up a prospect and some money, a lower prospect too. I'm not even talking like the 88th prospect in our system and a little cash. Why would they say no?
Right. And I mean, the cash thing doesn't even really matter at this point because we're above the second threshold anyway. So
yeah, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I pulled up Gio's postseason stats, right? Just because I kind of wanted to look at it. It's not good.
I was about
well, he wouldn't be much there anyway. It's kind of a get us to the postseason and give us a little relief type thing, I think.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Like last year, he pitched 8 innings and had a 6.7 ERA. The year before, he pitched 4 innings, had a 6 ERA.
Fits right in.
Oh yeah. He'd go right along with the bunch.
If he was good, maybe they would have a better record in October because he has been bad. So
right, but every single one of those starters minus
Scherzer,
I guess one Scherzer outing, right, has been pretty bad.
Yeah,
right. Terrible organization, and I don't even feel bad for him.
They're a worse organization than Miami because at least Miami knows when they're bad.
Right. Miami moved the players the way they needed to. And they did
the entire outfield.
And when did they do it? Before the waiver deadline. Did it in the offseason, obviously, which is way before. But if you're going to move these guys...
You got a ton back.
You got a ton back. They could have moved Reynolds, Murphy, Manson, Murphy, Doolittle, Herrera before they got hurt.
Eaton.
Gio, Harper.
Lions tonight, by the way, talking like he'd never even heard of J.T. Realmuto.
Yeah, wild.
Yeah,
Lions sucked on the broadcast.
Yeah, he's the worst.
He's 100% the worst.
I don't like him either. But the reason why that they didn't move anybody, before the July 31st deadline was because Rizzo knew he'd be getting fired. If he conceded the rest of the season. Yeah,
he doesn't want to give a heads up to the guy who's going to replace him.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I view it as the opposite, where he's just like, listen, a Dombrowski effect, and saying, listen, look at the roster I gave you. It's not my fault the manager sucks and the players aren't performing. That's not my issue. It's not my issue. Bryce Harper batting .230. Great, built a good bullpen. I mean, that going into the season, if I told you the Washington Nationals starting 3 was going to be Scherzer, Strasburg, Gio Gonzales, that's really good. You're like, all sub-3 ERAs. That's sick. But, I would have said the opposite, which is say, hey, listen, let me rebuild this team. We got Soto up here. Let me trade away Harper. Let me trade away, Gio. Let me trade away Murphy. We don't need these guys. Let's retool, not even rebuild, and let me show you what I can get. Let's be Boston, and just trade a few things away, a couple guys develop, and boom, here we are. I think it's the opposite, and I think that he knows he's losing jobs, so he didn't even care. I think it's that option of it, where it's just like, you know what, fuck it.
Speaking of the Miami fire sale, Christian Yelich is now 6 for 6.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Miami needed to do that.
Yeah,
they had no.
They got Lewis Brinson back, so that's the one deal where I feel like they got what they could get.
Yeah.
You got the